Hello, and welcome to Beyond Life, a paranormal podcast. I am your host, Howard, and I think we're going to turn down that background music a little bit. All right. Might even keep it on for a little bit of ambiance. Can't believe I just said ambience. Okay, here we go. The first two episodes, we took a look at two haunted houses. Famously known haunted. One was a haunted hotel, and one was a haunted actual house. And we broke into, it was two different hunts, two different teams, broke them down. Damn, I'm still saying a lot. Whatever. Episode 3, we're going to get into a house in New England. This is another team, another show. It's called Kindred Spirits. It has two investigators that come from the long line of ghost hunters, the TAPS group, which is a real group. I mean, they're over on the East Coast or in the New England area and stuff like that. So, this duo, they're pretty good. I like this show. They do things a little differently. What they're looking for is they want to know what's haunting the house, if it's a bad thing, if it's a good thing. And they want to just make sure the owners are safe. So they go into this with the thing is, let's find out what this is. They do their research. They do all kinds of stuff. So we're going to get into this. This is a house in New England. The former owner committed suicide, and it sat dormant for a while. And the new owners are seeing shadows at the bottom of the basement. And speaking of the basement, there's a strange crawl space. It's like an extra room. I wouldn't call it a crawl space. It's actually a pretty good size. We'll get into that later when they bring in an expert to take a look at it. There's knocking on bedrooms' doors. She has a nephew that comes over, and there's a big, large bang on that one. Toys thrown. She's just things like let's see what else. So yeah, that's pretty much all the things. I'm sorry, I did not type this into a doc. I have this just on my notes, so I'm just doing it on my notes to see how it works that way. So they get into the investigation. Usually they get about 3 days at the house. They usually have the owner go somewhere else for a couple days, and they have free reign of the house, and they can do what they need to do. So they start upstairs with an EVP session in the room, in the spare room. And they get some answers right away. It's like one of the questions is, do you want to talk to us? And there was an answer, and it was a no. And then it says, do you realize this belongs to Megan? That's the name of the new owner, Megan. And it says no. So the show's funny because they're looking through things. There's a little cubby hole in the wall, and they open it up, and of course they're going to go to a break. And they show them, they gasping on, oh no, what did we find? So you're in there and you see something in a little cubby hole. You freak out. It's just a teddy bear. It's just an old teddy bear. Could have been there forever, or could have not. She could have put it there, the owner. But they did find mice poop in the little cubby hole. So there is rodents in the hall, and like I said, this house sat for a few years, so you're going to get rodents possibly in the walls. She did say her dogs was barking at the walls and stuff. So that could be part of the reasons why the dogs bark, because that's what they're coming to. The conclusion is the dogs are barking because they're hearing mice and rats or whatever in the walls, which is something else they're going to have to deal with. So they go for an EVP session number 2. It says, do you have children? And a female voice comes back, and you can't even hear it, but it's female. So that's the end of night 1. They decide they want to do a little history in the house. Former owner daughter confirmed paranormal activity there too when they lived there. So her mom and herself experienced it before her mom committed suicide. They brought a historian in for the basement. In the basement, he called it a root cellar, but it's bigger than normal. And it said the house is, he's guessing the house was built in the mid to late 1800s. So a lot older than what they're expecting what they thought the house was. They weren't really, I think they said 1890s. So I guess that's mid to late, but I think they're guessing it is like in the 1850s that it was built, maybe 50 years earlier. So he's guessing that the way this cubby holes looked, it looked like there was chairs. It looked like you can fit a bunch of people in there. That was around the time of the Underground Railroad. And everybody knows in the New England area, the Underground Railroad was pretty big. So he's thinking this house could have been used as one of the Underground Railroad houses in the network of getting those people out of the South. So they do an EVP session. Nothing's happening in the basement. Upstairs in the living room, they're looking at the cameras and stuff, and one of the cameras tilted, moved on its own. They went down there, they were messing with it. There's no way it would have, even when one of the investigators decided, I'm going to see how I can replicate it with my hand. And he's like, this is a little stiff and I can't move it very well. So, they did an EVP review, and they did find another voice saying no. Then they went in there into the child's room, and they're in there and they're doing an EVP. And the child's room, they asked, do you have children? The answer back is Megan. And this is, I believe, they brought Megan into this to begin with. And Megan was on that hunt for that night when that said that. And they had, she had a grandmother that passed away. And they called her Nana. And she has a lot of little knickknacks that Nana made and bought and had. And if you know anything about hauntings and stuff like that, a spirit could cling on to little knickknacks, little things. You have those things, they're there, you know? You got the spirit. The spirit can hang around when they have personal items of themselves. That's why the stuff in the basement, that's why they thought maybe the former owner that passed away in the house could be haunting them, because they still had a ton of her stuff there. So we got the knickknacks, and then they're they get on the phone or on a Zoom call to an expert team on item possessions, because they want to get to the bottom of it. They want to see if this could be maybe Nana looking out for her granddaughter. And then so they were talking. They start hearing some knocking around, some tapping, stuff like that. And they're looking. They're trying to find what's making the noise. They go to this wall that has a shelf with a bunch of knickknacks on it. And they're messing around, and then they find a couple of knickknacks that, if they just move just a little bit, they make the exact noise that they heard. So, okay, so after the EVP of it saying Megan, and then the knickknacks, and this time, this is where they bring in Megan to the EVP session the next night, and they EVP with the EMF meter. They asked to verify Nana meter. Meter went off. Megan talking about Nana, her gravestone. EMF goes off. It's going crazy. So, and about the possible ghost in the basement could be connected to the Underground Railroad, and that could just be residual haunting. And the fact that the other hauntings in there is Nana watching over her Megan. And that was the investigation. Ended up being a good one. There is another one coming up. I'm going to do a second one here. Well, not right now, but later. Now I'm going to talk about a monster, a creature, or it's more or less an animal. I wouldn't call him a monster. He's revealed in the Pacific Northwest. He's our cryptid. He's our mystery. Area 51 is Roswell, New Mexico's, or Roswell is the aliens. Well, in Washington State in the Pacific Northwest, it's Bigfoot. So we're going to be talking about Bigfoot. So strap on in. Let's talk. I'm going to be reading. This is basically just a Wikipedia report. There are a lot of different versions of Sasquatch. Like an example, there's a version of Sasquatch in Florida, and that version is, they call him the skunk ape because he smells. They said he's a little bit smaller than our Bigfoot. And then there's another one I wrote down. I guess I should have watched this video again. A wood booger. You call him a wood booger, like in the Connecticut area, I think it is. And a wood booger, another way of saying wood booger, is the boogeyman. So, connect a few things. I don't know. I'm just speculating. I don't know much, so here we go. Let's look at this. Okay, Bigfoot is also commonly referred as Sasquatch, yep. And largely a hairy, human-like mythical creature alleged by some to inhabit the forests of North America, particularly the Pacific Northwest. Bigfoot is featured in both American and Canadian folklore and since the mid-20th century has grown to be a cultural icon, permeating popular culture and becoming a subject of its own distinct subculture. So I remember Bigfoot. First time I ever remembered Bigfoot is my grandfather talking about him. They lived in this house in the middle of the woods, like kind of in the middle of the woods. It's way off the road, and even the road is way off the road. Up in the mountains, up in the hills of Oroville, California. And Grandpa would talk about, if we don't behave, he will call Bigfoot in and have him beat us up or kidnap us or something like that. A real brutal way of dealing with bad kids, right? And he would go as far as have someone they had people like cousins and uncles and stuff always living on the property because it was so big. Even had one of them come in and say, yeah, Bigfoot was out. He was shaking my trailer. I had to get back in here, They'd go as far as that. And enthusiasts of Bigfoot, such as those within the pseudoscience of cryptozoology, have offered various forms of dubious evidence and proof of Bigfoot's existence, including anecdotal claims of sightings as well as alleged photographs. I've seen some of these videos and photographs. They look, honestly, they kind of look legit. It's kind of creepy. Gives me some goosebumps. Video and audio recordings, hair samples, casts of large footprints. However, the scientists' consensus is that Bigfoot and alleged evidence is a combination of folklore, misidentification, and hoax rather than living animal. Folklorists trace the phenomenon of Bigfoot to a combination of factors and sources, including European wild man figure, folk tales, indigenous creatures. Example of the similar folk tales of wild, hair-covered humanoids exist throughout the world, such as the skunk ape. I already said that. That's the southeastern United States. The almonds, urine, and yeti of Asia. Yes, the yeti is a form of that too. And Australian is the yali? Yali, I think. And creatures in the mythologies and indigenous people, wishful thinking, a cultural increase in environmental concerns, and overall societal awareness and subject have been cited as an addition factors. So, a description, I've already said it, is often described as a large, muscular, bipedal human or ape-like creature covered in black, dark brown, dark reddish hair. Anecdotal descriptions estimate the height is roughly 6 to 9 feet, or 1.8 meters to 2.7 meters, with some descriptions having the creatures standing as tall as 10 to 15 feet. I don't buy that tall. I'd say 9 feet, maybe, tops. This come from in Washington. It's like a large man. Large man can be 8 to 9 feet. Doesn't go as far as 15. That's straight up giant. Some alleged observations describe Bigfoot more of a human than an ape. Yeah. Particular in the regards of the face. In 1971, multiple people in Dallas, Oregon, filed a police report reporting describing an overgrown ape, and one of the men claimed to have sighted the creature in the scope of his rifle but could not bring himself to shoot it. It looked more human than animal. Common descriptions include broad shoulders, no visible neck, and long arms, which many skeptics attribute to misidentification of a bear standing upright. Some alleged nighttime sightings have stated the creature's eyes glowed yellow or red. However, eye shine is not present in humans or any other known great apes. So proposed explanations for observation eye shines off the ground in the forest include owls, raccoons, possums perched on foliage. Michael Rugg, the owner of Bigfoot Discovery Museum, claims that to have smelled Bigfoot, stating, imagined a skunk that has rolled around in dead animals and has a head hung around the garbage pits. The enormous footprints for which the creature is named are claimed to be as large as 24 inches and 8 inches wide. Some footprints casts have also contained claw marks, making it likely to be known as such animals as bears, which has 5 toes and claws. So, you come to your own conclusion about Bigfoot. I mean, a lot of people believe, if you believe in ghosts, you believe in Bigfoot, you believe in these other creatures. It's out there. And you're going to find it sooner or later. Or we maybe have found it, and it's been covered up by the government. Because we know the government likes to cover stuff up. Conspiracy theory time. The Bigfoot was created by the government in the 1940s to be ground troops in a super soldier program, and it went wrong and created this ape-like monster. So they released him into the wild in the Pacific Northwest. Conspiracy. That would be a funny story. I can't believe I just made that up. I did make that up. But who knows? Somebody else might have thought of it too. So, some folklore and early records. Ecologist Robert Pyle urges the most cultures of accounts of human-like giants in their folk history expressing need large and nice care. Each language has its own name for the creature featured in the local version in such legends. Many names mean something like wild man or hairy man, although other names describe common actions that is said to perform, such as eating clams and shaking trees. And this just goes on a bit different folklore. I'm not sure how much more I'm going to read. All I know is I grew up with Sasquatch, grew up in an area that celebrates him. The movie, Harry and the Hendersons, really funny. Other than that, I think that's all I got for you today. Wish I had more. Maybe I'm going to have to do, if I do Kindred Spirits again, I'm going to have to do 2 episodes instead of just 1. Because it is just 2 people, and so, yeah. So I do know the next episode is pretty interesting. So, other than that, I hope everybody have a good week, good day, and we'll see you next week. Goodbye.